Hey everybody, Mick Levinskas here. It is a rainy day here in San Francisco, but the sun has come out, and not just because I'm chatting to Ayala, who is in Australia. Hey Ayala, how you doing?
Hey, Mick, good. How are you?
Really good. Whereabouts? Are you in Melbourne or Sydney?
I am in Melbourne. I'm at
Melbourne.
home at the moment in Melbourne. Yes.
Is it sunny, lovely Melbourne today?
Getting sunny.
Not bad. Okay, good, good. I bet you it's absolutely better than here in San Francisco. I'm very jealous. I'm jealous of the coffee, but that's another conversation. Thanks for joining us and sharing your story of your journey in technology as a part of the She's Building a Robot book. I'm not sure when everyone's watching this video, but the campaign actually ended last night. We sold just short of 600 copies, and I'm in the process of talking to publishers now to find the best publisher. So. As a part of that, I wanted to profile as many women in technology and share what their life was like and how they got involved in technology. So you're someone I've always respected in technology, and I know when we first met, you had some pretty good stories. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks. My pleasure.
So let's start way back. What was your first big introduction to technology? Like, how did you first get introduced? Was it an individual person? Was it a book? What was the moment that got you excited about technology?
If I go way back, I grew up in Israel, in a place called kibbutz. I don't know, many people know it's of a communal style living. So
Yeah.
not many people. We used to be around 12 kids in a age group. And my mum was the principal of the primary school. And I remember when the government funded the first computers, she was the computers teacher. So
Wow. Yeah.
I remember unboxing the first Commodore 64. And I was quite privileged because I had the chance and the opportunity to be around that class even more. So that was really the first exciting interaction for me with computers. But then after I went to university, I've done some tech roles in the army service, etc. But when I went to uni, I didn't know what I wanted to study. So I went to study economics.
Yep.
But that was at the dot-com boom, and there was a skill shortage. So I ended up working as a student, as a software tester. And for me, it was my first manager at that startup. I would study economics in day and then go and, he would teach me everything from, the basics of networking, 7 layers, everything I needed to do to troubleshoot, do the software testing. So for me, that person, Hirosh, was my first boss. I think he really gave me that introduction to real tech job.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, that's exciting. That's another wonderful story in technology. And what happened from there? You've had a number of interesting, different roles in technology. Can you talk about?
Sorry, I don't know that.
That's my Alexa piping in there. Thanks. So I've got to stop saying that word. So, and where to from there? You've been involved in some other startups and various parts of technology. What
Yes.
else?
So I started my career in working in a number of startups, and started more from software testing, but very quickly evolved into post-sales support, pre-sales, and as you do at a startup, you just do everything. So first couple of years in my career, I would just fly all over the world. The first startup was actually doing a mini DSLAM solution for connectivity for multi-tenanted buildings. So I think for about 2 or 3 years, I would fly all over the world, installing them in hotels. So I would be, probably in my 20s, and I would be in the basement in a hotel in Taiwan, in Italy, in the US, in South America. So really everywhere, doing everything from site installations to post-sale support to marketing presentations. And that's a beautiful thing about startups, that you get to experience and do everything.
Yeah.
And through those travels, I ended up one day in Melbourne, and that was love at first sight.
And you've never left.
Never left. So I remember going home after that. I flew here a couple of times during a year, And I remember going back and saying to my husband, we're going to live there. That's the best place.
Wow.
And
What was his response?
The first time he landed in Melbourne was the time that we moved here. So he
Wow.
trusted me. Yes, he never visited before. He trusted me, and we packed our bags and moved to Melbourne. And since
Fantastic.
then, had 3 girls here. So what you're doing with the book, I have 3 girls, aged 13, 10, and 4.5. And we are having those types of conversations, especially with my eldest, in terms of what's next. Passionate about the creative side, passionate about science, what professions can I have. So when you told me about the book, I got quite excited as a mum of 3 girls.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's certainly one of my things was so many books just have male lead characters. Like, why? How come there's not just? It's not even close to being 80%. It's just like most books have male lead characters. So we've got to get a lot more balance, swinging balance back the other way. So, well, great. I think you've had obviously sounds like a lot of great female role models in your life as well, and now you get to be a strong female role model, and certainly. In terms of your some of your work through Meridian Telstra, you've been a great role model as well to young women in tech and also women entrepreneurs. So really, really well done for doing that. What's your favorite part of working in technology, other than traveling around the world and finding new places to live, which sounds incredible for someone in their 20s to have that opportunity. And that I think that is a great message for young teenage girls. You might be thinking that in computers, even as a tester, that you might be stuck in a room somewhere for the rest of your life, but actually you might be in rooms all around the world for the rest of your life. There's a lot of opportunities. I've had great travel because of tech, so that's a really good story to tell.
Yeah, and it's actually, I think the diversity and the opportunity in tech is amazing. So yes, when I was, I had no kids, I traveled all around the world. That was fantastic. But when time came and we decided to start a family, then I could find the relevant jobs in tech that would suit my lifestyle. So I moved more into product management roles, and then product marketing and partnership management. And then, the following decade, I barely traveled at all because I had the girls. And I think, the career in tech allow that that diversity, and I don't think I ever did a role more than 3 years, probably at max. So the ability to move things all the way from very technical roles initially to management roles, but also to product development, to marketing, quite diverse. And that's something that I think the tech world allows you to experiment with.
Oh, it's really great to hear. I think actually there are a lot of stories of women who say that there's either limited opportunities or different kinds of pressure. Sometimes the bro culture, but it's good to know that it's not all bad. That there are people who have been able to find great roles and great opportunities, and maybe it's partly a little bit of luck, but it's also looking for the opportunities and investing. So did you just naturally work into those new roles, or did you have to do extra training? Was it more on the job, or was it like, how did you go from being a tester through to product and management and partnerships? Like, how did you earn the right to get to those next steps?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the key things that drive me is personal growth, personal development, and also helping others to grow and develop. So it's constantly, after a while when I feel that, okay, I need my next challenge, that always, propelled me to go into, new roles, try new things. And at a certain point for me, what attracted me to more management and leadership roles was the ability to also help others grow and develop. But I also think that, it's really important, especially if you're going up the ranks in a certain organization and over the years sort of left the more technical roles and moved into more leadership roles. For me, it's always important to pause and go back And I'm actually at the moment in my house on an extended leave for my workplace, and I've done that before. Back in 2012, I took a career break. I built websites. I built sort of e-commerce platform. Did blogging. I consulted with a company that did leadership programs for women, for emerging leaders. And for me, it's really important to, activate different cells in your brain. Not that you don't do that on the job, you do. But it's really important to diversify the experience. So my suggestion is always look for personal development. It could be on the job. It could be outside the job. The other thing that during my career, I've always left a bit of sort of capacity and room to support startups. Coming from the startup space, I felt that there's a lot of sort of two-way that I can give and contribute to startups and the startup ecosystem in Australia, but I also get a lot back from that interaction and innovations and ideas and ways of thinking that we might not have in the corporate. So I think it's always important to keep open and keep developing.
Yeah, that's great. I think both things in terms of investing in yourself and also, as you said, investing in the ecosystem that you're a part of, even if you're not getting paid for it or getting any equity or direct value out of it, in terms of financial, the impact it has on you philosophically and mentally, and new ideas, even just the freshness and the speed is really rewarding. So that's a really great point to put in there. You have teenage girls who are, I'm guessing, getting exposed to technology. Are there any particular things you're doing with them to give them access and opportunities for that exposure that you found work really well?
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's things that I'm sort of thinking about. What is it that I can provide them with the experience? And for me, it needs to come from them. What I found was quite impactful for them is actually coming with me to work. Okay. We've got, Telstra Labs, which is a very interesting environment with a lot of emerging technologies. And, just before Christmas, we had an opportunity to bring the kids, and we had a build a computer workshop with the kids, and they absolutely loved it. But also, my eldest is saying, Mum, how can I get a job like yours when I grow up?
Oh, that's awesome.
Just because, the environment that they are exposed to and the things that they see that I do and how passionate I am about my work. I think that's what gives them a lot of motivation. I think there is no specific course or activity. One of the interesting... the interesting thing is, particularly with my eldest, who is very creative, but also loves science. And the questions that she's asking me is, how can I combine something in future career which involves creativity and science? And I was thinking about it when she asked the question, and I said, look, there's probably a few things I can name that involves both. But I think what is important now, I probably don't know what professions will be in 10 years. Let's start with that. But also keep developing both. Continue your passion with the creative work, the arts, but also invest in science and just leave your options open. But I'm sure it's a magical combination, and you will end up finding what's best for you with that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. What is the 2019 equivalent of the Commodore 64? Because that was my entry to technology as well. What's today's version of the Commodore 64? Is it the Raspberry Pi? Is it Scratch coding? Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, not sure. With teenage girls, I'm sure it's Instagram, but.
It's funny because we didn't have technology all around us back then, and I think Instagram and other bits of technology, while they're technology, you're a consumer of them. You're not actually participating in the technology itself. Whereas when I was growing up, if you Commodore 64, you had to be at least a little bit technical. I mean, you could always play computer games, but there wasn't as much opportunity. So it's a different kind of involvement, I think. So yeah, it's interesting. It's electronics kits or Raspberry Pis, maybe Scratch. So I think there are lots of different access points now, and that, which is, I think, is a good thing. And people can find, as you said, if you've got a creative bent, you can bring your creativity to it. If you're more analytical, and I think the other thing, which a lot of people don't think about, is that being in technology these days is absolutely about people. It's not about just sitting by yourself and tinkering and writing code 40 hours a week. It's very, very people-based, which I think the cliches and the stereotypes in the movies make it sound like you sit in a lab coat with a lab coat on, or in the dark with headphones on, and you never actually interact with people. But that hasn't been my experience. And do you agree with that in terms of the importance of people and people interactions and relationships?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, whatever they choose to do, and whether it's science or art or whatever, the communications and people skills are absolutely important. But I also find how they interact with information is very different to how we interact. And all the way from just using the voice interactions,
Yes.
she would talk to my girls would talk to the remote to change the channel, something that I probably haven't even thought about doing.
Sure.
We were talking about getting maybe contact lenses for her last night, and after 20 minutes she researched everything, all the way from YouTube, Google, comes back with, Mum, this is the age that is possible, etc. That's what you need to be aware of. This is something that we were not exposed to.
Totally.
So it's very, very different age, and seeing the kids grow up today in a very different environment. So it'll be interesting how it will affect them as they grow up.
I think you're right. My daughter this morning woke up and was about making her breakfast cereal, and then decided to go and say, Alexa, tell me a Star Wars joke.
What do you get when you combine Star Wars with baseball? The umpire strikes out.
See, so not the best Star Wars joke I've heard from that bit of technology, but absolutely different kinds of interaction, which is excellent. Well, Ayala, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story with all of the millions of young women who are getting inspired by technology, and thanks again for supporting She's Building a Robot. Hopefully, I can get you a copy as soon as we possibly can for your daughters. So we can get that feedback going, but well done for what you've done individually, and also your support of women in technology and startups around the world. Looking forward to seeing you hopefully later this year, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mick. Thank you. Well done for the book, and I can't wait to read that and see the effect of it. So thank you.
No problems. Thanks.
Thanks, Mick. Bye.